Leo, listen closely. A woman is coming to your house, and she won't be alone. She'll be accompanied by a figure of legal authority, and this isn't just a twist of fate. This is a divine alert. A moment of spiritual clarity disguised as a disruption. You didn't stumble into this video. You were guided here because something inside you has been stirring. Restless sleep, sudden chills when you hear a certain name, a door creaking in a dream, or a shadow that lingers longer than it should. These aren't coincidences. They're signals. Warnings. And if you've been feeling like something's about to shift, you're right. It's already shifting. For those of us who walk through life with an open heart and a sharp intuition, we tend to feel the tremors before the earthquake. Leo, your instincts haven't been wrong. That tightness in your chest, that lingering sense of something's off, it's your spiritual radar doing exactly what it was designed to do. You're not imagining it. You're discerning it. You're someone who has carried a lot quietly. You've tolerated more than most know. And this moment, this sudden visit, this unexpected encounter is not an attack. It's a test. It's an opportunity for you to step fully into your power. To own the truth that's been whispering to you for weeks now. You are no longer available for manipulation, intrusion, or false peace. And make no mistake. What's about to unfold will bring clarity. But it won't come softly. When truth arrives, it doesn't always knock gently, it breaks the silence. And today, truth is showing up at your front door, perhaps in the form of a woman with calm eyes and a hidden agenda, backed by someone who believes their status entitles them to control your life. It doesn't. You are not here to be intimidated. You are not here to play small. And if you've been second-guessing your instincts, let this be the moment you stop. You were born under a sign ruled by the sun for a reason, so stop hiding in the shadow of doubt. Stand in your light. This message today isn't about fear. It's about preparation. It's about stepping out of the fog and into full awareness of the role you're meant to play. The spiritual battlefield doesn't always look like swords and fire. It sometimes looks like a front porch, a knock on the door, and a conversation you weren't expecting. So take a breath. This isn't the beginning of chaos. It's the end of pretending. And what comes after will be entirely up to you. If you're still with me, I want to thank you. Not just for watching, but for choosing truth over comfort. Every comment, every like, every shared word of support has kept this space, eternal mindfulness, alive with purpose. And your presence here matters. Now I have one small request. If you feel like this message found you for a reason, I want you to pause and confirm that by leaving a comment below. Share your thoughts. Speak your truth. Or simply write, I was meant to hear this today. Because the moment you speak it out loud, the energy begins to shift. Are you ready? Let's go deeper. You're not alone, and what's coming next may just change everything. Leo, let's not pretend you haven't noticed. Waking up at 3 a.m. for no reason, feeling like someone's eyes are on you even in an empty room, or hearing a name that leaves a strange chill in your chest. You've brushed it off, maybe blamed stress, but deep down you knew it was something else. Something real. And those dreams. The ones where water turns murky, where doors creak open but no one walks through, where you see a figure but never a face. That's not your imagination getting weird. That's your intuition working overtime to deliver a message you're finally ready to hear. These aren't coincidences. They're signals, small, deliberate nudges from the energy field around you. I often call them pings from the universe. You don't need to believe in magic to know when something feels off. Your body knows. Your breath shortens. Your skin tightens. The room suddenly feels too quiet. Right now, astrologically, the moon is in hard aspect with Pluto, the planet that rules death, power, and the things we try to hide. And whenever those two clash, what's buried tends to come to the surface. Old emotions, unspoken truths, invisible threads between people, they all become impossible to ignore. You might not have the words for what you're feeling, but the energy is undeniable. And in tarot, the moon card keeps appearing. Not as a warning, but as an invitation. An invitation to slow down and listen to what your inner world is trying to reveal. The moon doesn't show everything at once. It gives you fragments, hints, reflections, pieces of memory wrapped in symbols. It speaks the language of the subconscious, and it doesn't shout. It whispers. So if you've been feeling confused, disconnected, or strangely emotional lately, this might be why. You're not crazy. You're connected. And the moment you start trusting those subtle instincts is the moment you stop second-guessing yourself and start owning the wisdom you've carried all along. Sometimes the first step to understanding what's coming is recognizing what's already been trying to speak through you. That knot in your stomach when you enter a certain space? That moment of stillness when you hear something and the world feels frozen for half a second? Those are not random. They are maps, pointing you towards something you haven't fully looked at yet, but that's ready to be seen. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be willing to see. Not everything hidden is dangerous. But what's dangerous is pretending you can't feel what you already know. So take a second right now and write this down, even if only in your mind. I allow my intuition to lead. When you give your intuition permission to speak louder than your fear, something shifts. It won't all make sense right away. But soon, the patterns will emerge. The faces in the fog will become familiar. The pieces will start to connect. And when that happens, Leo, I hope you remember that you didn't need a sign from the sky to trust yourself. The signs were always around you. You just needed a moment of stillness to hear them. This is that moment. You may not know exactly when it started, the shift in the air, the feeling that someone or something is moving closer. But the signs are becoming clearer now, and here's what you need to understand. A woman is going to show up. And she won't be coming alone. Maybe she's someone from your past. A family connection that never quite healed. A former coworker with unfinished business. Or perhaps a complete stranger, one who seems to know far more about your life than she should. Either way, her presence won't feel casual. It won't feel neutral. It'll carry weight, and for a reason. Who's with her is just as important. There may be a man older, reserved, positioned in authority. Maybe he's dressed in uniform. Maybe he's not. Maybe it's a police officer, a lawyer, a figure connected to finance or legal power. But make no mistake, they're not there for small talk. They're there to press a reaction out of you. To create pressure. To test where you stand. This isn't about paranoia. It's about preparation. Because when energy like this shows up, it's rarely random. In the tarot spread that keeps returning, two powerful archetypes have surfaced again and again, the Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor. One represents control under the guise of help, the kind of person who offers stability but expects obedience. The other is the embodiment of structure, law, and sometimes manipulation through authority. Together, they don't just knock. They come with a blueprint, with expectations, and sometimes with an agenda that assumes you'll fold. But here's the truth: you don't have to. This moment isn't about fear, it's about clarity. You're being asked to re-establish your boundaries, not out of defense, but out of deep self-respect. Whatever shows up at your door, whatever demands attention, remember this: your worth isn't determined by how well you comply. It's defined by how clearly you stand in your truth when you're being asked to abandon it. In astrology, when the moon aligns with Pluto the way it does this week, what's hidden becomes visible. Power dynamics surface. Secrets can no longer stay silent. These kinds of transits don't show up to punish, they show up to liberate. But liberation often begins with confrontation, with a person, with a system, or with a part of yourself that's been too quiet for too long. This could be a legal situation, or it could be energetic. It may involve signatures and documents, or it may simply involve the decision to say, not anymore. The outer form matters less than the inner shift. And that shift is already happening. So if your body tenses up at the thought of her name, or your hands feel tight when you imagine this visit, pay attention. Not to the fear but to what it's telling you about your limits, your healing, and your inner compass. This is your moment to choose your peace over pleasing. Your dignity over discomfort. Your alignment over old agreements. Whatever door opens in the days to come, remember that you choose who steps through it and on what terms. That alone is powerful beyond measure. Now take a breath. And ask yourself this: what truth have I been avoiding because I didn't feel ready to face it? Because ready or not, the moment is approaching. And you, Leo, were born to face it not with fear, but with the full brilliance of someone who knows their worth. When something in your life feels off, you don't always get the luxury of clarity right away. Sometimes, it shows up as a tension in your chest. Other times, it's a sudden urge to double-check a lock, or the feeling that your phone's battery dying at the wrong moment means something more. That's not fear talking, it's awareness. It's your nervous system responding to subtle shifts around you. And today, Leo, that awareness matters more than ever. Because the next 48 hours aren't just random. Astrologically, this window is sharp. The energy is focused. The moon's current interaction with key planetary transits suggests that the choices you make today, especially the ones tied to your boundaries and your safety, are going to ripple into your life for the next 6 months. That's not to pressure you. It's to give you permission to take your gut seriously. To respond instead of react. To prepare rather than panic. So what can you do right now that's not about control, but about consciousness? Start small, but intentional. If there are important documents lying around, legal forms, property papers, anything involving your name or your assets, organize and protect them. Scan them. Back them up. Clarity brings confidence, and having your materials in order helps you respond with calm instead of confusion. Next, update your passwords. I know, it sounds like a small thing. But energetically, it's a reset. When you change a password, you're sending a message to the universe that you're closing old doors and choosing who has access to your space, physical and digital. Make it a ritual. Light a candle. Play music. Make it yours. Then, look at your messages not with suspicion, but with curiosity. Is there any conversation that gave you a weird feeling? Something left unsaid that keeps circling in your head? Save the things that matter. Voice memos, screenshots, emails. You don't have to act on anything. But when your memory is clear, your next move becomes easier. If you have home security cameras, locks, systems, give them a check. Not because you're expecting chaos, but because peace lives in prevention. Peace lives in knowing that if something shows up uninvited, you don't have to scramble. You're already steady. And finally, this one may be the most important, and hold this alone. Reach out to someone you trust. Not to vent. Not to spiral. Just to say, hey, I've been picking up on something. I don't know what it is yet, but I want to stay clear. Can I count on you to remind me who I am if things get weird? It's not about needing help. It's about building an anchor. And anchors keep you from drifting when the tide gets strong. You don't have to broadcast what's going on. You don't owe anyone explanations. But you do owe yourself a sense of inner structure. That's what this moment is calling you to build. So take a moment and write this down somewhere: your notes app, a journal, even a sticky note on your desk. I do not open the door out of fear. I open it with conscious choice. Let that sentence become your center. Let it remind you that no matter who shows up, no matter what conversations arise, you are not the same person you were last time you faced uncertainty. This time, you're showing up prepared. And when preparation meets alignment, you don't just protect your peace, you expand it. There's a moment, often quiet, often overlooked, when your body knows it's time to shift the energy. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't require candles, chants, or rituals passed down for centuries. It simply needs your presence. Your willingness to pause, to listen inward, and to say, enough. I choose something new now. Energy doesn't just move on its own. It waits for permission. And when you give that permission with clarity and intent, the atmosphere around you begins to change. The air feels lighter. The inner noise softens. Your nervous system, which may have been carrying tension from situations you couldn't name, finally has a signal that says, you are safe now. You are choosing again. One of the most effective ways to do this is also the most simple: your breath. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. That's it. But it's not about breathing to calm down, it's about breathing to come back. To return to your own center, where your truth doesn't need to be defended or explained. Where what's yours remains, and what isn't naturally falls away. So let's create that moment together now. Find a quiet space. Sit if you can. Let your right hand rest on your chest where your truth lives. Let your left hand settle on your lower belly where your grounding begins. Breathe in through your nose slowly. Let it fill both hands. Hold for a second. Then exhale through your mouth gently, like you're releasing fog from a window. Repeat that 2 more times. No rush. And now, speak this out loud if you're able to. Whisper it softly into your breath. I am unwavering light. I protect what is true within me. What does not belong to me dissolves now. You don't need to believe in magic for this to work. You only need to believe in your right to peace. And when your voice carries that kind of authority, even silently, the energy around you listens. This declaration is not just words, it's intentions sealed with breath and will. Think of it like energetic insulation. It keeps what's yours safe, and what's not out. From a numerology and energy perspective, the vibration of today resonates with the frequency of 777. A number of alignment. Of divine timing. Of being right where you need to be even if the road here wasn't clean or easy. It's often associated with intuition awakening, old cycles breaking, and internal authority rising. If you've been doubting your instincts lately, this is the universe reminding you, you're more tuned in than you think. Color also plays a quiet role in how you anchor energy. Deep green carries the energy of inner fortitude and boundary protection. It creates a field around the heart that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to stand in it. Lavender soft, ethereal amplifies intuitive clarity. It helps you hear what's been whispering inside you all along, before the noise of outside opinions drowned it out. So if you need a gentle nudge today, wear something in those colors. Place a green stone near your workspace. Add a touch of lavender to your room. These aren't superstitions. They're sensory signals that reinforce your new direction. Your nervous system understands cues. Let it be surrounded by reminders of strength, clarity, and softness coexisting. This isn't about protecting yourself from the world out of fear. It's about holding a clean space so you can navigate the world with presence. You are not here to hide. You are here to discern. And that starts with choosing what energy you allow in and what energy you gently, but firmly, let go. When the dust finally settles, what's left often speaks louder than the storm ever did. And in this case, Leo, what you're stepping into now isn't just a moment of peace, it's a window of truth. This is the part where you stop reacting and start seeing. Clearly. Without filters. Without illusions. You'll notice it in small things first. A conversation that once drained you no longer holds weight. A certain person's presence no longer feels magnetic because you've stepped out of their orbit. You might catch yourself feeling lighter, not because life has suddenly become easier, but because you're no longer carrying what was never yours to begin with. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally giving yourself permission to be who you've always been, without bending to stay small or adjusting to make others comfortable. That's the quiet gift of surviving a personal storm. You remember what matters. You remember who you are when no one's watching. And with that clarity comes responsibility, especially toward yourself. Now is the time to put your life in alignment, not with pressure or perfection, but with intentionality. Start with your finances. Don't just glance at your accounts, check in with them like you would a part of your body that's been ignored too long. Where are you leaking energy? What subscriptions, spending habits, or emotional impulses have been costing you more than you realized? This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. If it doesn't serve the life you're building, it doesn't deserve access to your resources. Consider creating a quiet, private fund just for yourself. Not for emergencies. For sovereignty. For choice. Then, turn toward your work life. If you're waking up more tired than when you went to sleep, something's off. Your body isn't lazy, it's speaking. Ask yourself honestly, am I doing this job because it feeds my values, or because I'm afraid of losing control? There's no shame in either answer. But the difference matters. Even if you can't quit, you can still start to make micro adjustments toward alignment. In your relationships, romantic or not, this is your checkpoint. If being around someone constantly makes you question your worth, it's not love. It's confusion wrapped in attachment. You deserve to feel respected without having to fight for it. You deserve peace without earning it. Let your heart be a place of reciprocity, not negotiation. And finally, your health. You don't need a 30-day challenge or a new identity as a fit person. You need basic, consistent care that tells your body you're here to stay. Start your morning with warm water. Take a few minutes of sun. Replenish the nutrients your nervous system has burned through during these tense cycles. B vitamins for energy, vitamin C for immune support, zinc for mental clarity. These aren't hacks. They're signals to your system, I care about you. We're not just surviving anymore, we're rebuilding something sustainable. Because that's the truth now. You're not just coming out of a storm. You're crossing a threshold. You didn't just endure something, you learned from it. You've dropped what's heavy. You've reclaimed what's sacred. And now, you get to rebuild, not in reaction to what hurt you, but in devotion to what heals you. So go ahead and say it out loud, even if it's just in your heart. I am not just surviving. I am living on purpose. Let that be your compass. Quiet. Clear. Unshakable. Leo, what if I told you that everything you've gone through, every gut feeling, every sleepless night, every moment when you doubted your own strength was not proof that you're weak, but preparation for the light you're about to carry? You were not brought here to hide. You weren't guided to this message to be afraid. You're not being asked to defend yourself in chaos, you're being called to rise from it. And not just rise, but lead. The woman might show up. The unexpected knock may come. But your energy, your clarity, your truth, that's the real gatekeeper now. You are not the same person who once would have opened the door out of fear, or silence, or guilt. This time, you stand in your power. This time, you choose what enters your space. And you do so not with force, but with presence. Because you are the light. And when the light is steady, it doesn't need to shout. It simply shines. So I want to ask you something real. What if the reason you've been tested lately isn't because you're being punished, but because you're being positioned? What if the unsettling events weren't a threat but an invitation to return to yourself more fully than ever? Think about that. Who are you becoming now that you're no longer explaining your boundaries? What parts of you are waking up as you stop dimming your glow just to fit in? Who do you get to be when you finally trust your own knowing? These aren't just questions, theory checkpoints for your soul. And you don't have to answer them all today. Just keep them close. Let them shape your next decision, your next breath, your next moment of stillness. If something inside you stirred while listening to this message, if your chest tightened, or your eyes welled up, or you suddenly remembered a moment you've been trying to forget and ignore it, that's not just emotion. That's your truth knocking. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What part of this message spoke the loudest to you today? And if you're ready to anchor this energy, write, I stand strong in my light, and no one may disturb my peace. And if you felt seen, heard, or held in this space. Even just a little, click the like button to let that energy land. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness to stay connected with a community that honors your growth, your intuition, and your truth. You're not just watching a video, you're walking a path. And every step you take from this point forward, do it with the quiet courage of someone who finally remembers. You are not waiting for the light. You are the light. Thank you for being here. Your presence is powerful. Your journey is sacred. And someone out there needs your glow. So keep going. Keep shining. And if this message found you, it was never by accident.